Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. In today's packed program, I'm going to give you an insight into the short-term developments with Bitcoin and where we're heading as we're forming these various patterns here. The next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely critical for Bitcoin. We're coming up to this box here where the Bitcoin investor tool is aiming towards this end here. We're coming up to the R2 line on the pivots, and that confluence is exactly where this price is going. And at that point, Bitcoin is going to have to make up its mind whether it's going to barge through or it's going to have a correction. I've had a few requests for Dash, and I'll have a look at that and see exactly where this pattern is actually taking us in the next few months. I'm also going to have a look at the longer term picture with Bitcoin and show you a few support lines from the previous bull markets and what they're telling us and what we can expect in the current bull market. Also, I'm going to show you something extremely interesting which was brought to my attention by one of my subscribers, Frederick Tapp. I hope I've said that name properly. I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. But Frederick has mentioned that I just found an interesting video which shows the Dow Jones approaching an important 100-year resistance line, and maybe this is interesting for you too. Well, it is interesting, and I hope everybody else will also find this very, very interesting, because I'm going to show you the Dow Jones index over the course of the last 120 odd years and see what that can tell us about what can possibly happen with Bitcoin in the next few months. And in today's Wisdom Bite, I'm going to go through a few principles that completely transformed my life, and I hope it will have the same effect on you. The only problem is that less than 5% of people in the world will actually follow it. So if that sounds interesting, then without further ado, go get your cups of teas and a Snickers bar, and let's get cracking. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the daily chart and show you, when we zoom out, that what we have is this channel that we've been forming since the actual start of the bull market at this candle here on the 8th of October. So as you can see, since then, we formed this channel. Top of the channel, bottom of the channel, near the top of the channel, near the bottom of the channel, and we're currently here. And I'm going to show you a closer view of exactly what's happening currently. I wanted to show you the overall picture of Bitcoin, where we started in this current bull market around the 8th of October, and exactly where that's led to currently. And I'll do the price analysis in the shorter term here. But this is the channel that we've been forming. The reason why we need to know this channel is because what it does do is it tells us exactly the support. This is a very strong support line, and it would suggest to me that currently quite a lot of people are saying that we could fall back down to 40, 45,000, etc. Well, this line tells you otherwise. It tells you that the bottom of this support line currently is at the $50,000 mark. And until it falls below that, we are still in this uptrend. And until the uptrend changes in a different direction, then we have no reason to feel bearish in any way at all. So let's have a look at this price action here. So on the 1 hourly chart, this is the price action that we've got within that channel. There are 3 patterns developing, and amongst the 3 patterns, there's various other things that are very interesting here. Firstly, we've got this pink channel here, where the price has been going into a double bottom here. And I would have thought that it would have broken out here after the double bottom, but it came and formed another double bottom here. So you would have expected, on a balance of probabilities, because these double bottoms generally tend to be bullish, for the price action to have broken upwards. However, it's broken downwards. And this is why we say that with Bitcoin, everything is possible, and we have to go by the probabilities because nothing is certain. And in investments generally, nothing is certain. We can always look at exactly what the charts are telling us, and on a balance of probabilities that it's going to do a certain thing, but sometimes it does something completely different. So what we've done is we've fallen out of this resistance yellow line here. which was supported by this pink line here, and we've fallen through to the downside. In the process of this, we've now created this blue channel here. And so what we're doing is we're meandering through to this channel. And what we can expect is a strong support. I know quite a lot of people are traders out there, and what they would be looking at here is that once the price breaks below the pink support line here, with at least a 4-hour close here, then that would be a good play to make some profits on the short side here. And the way to actually measure that would be to take the price from here to this bottom line here, there. And if you place that where the breakout was, it gives you exactly around this level here. So the price over here would be about 54,000. This is where I would expect the bottom of this would be. However, as I've shown you with the blue support line, it could come all the way down to the 50,000 mark over here. And we would still be in an uptrend. If we have a look at the EMA ribbons, we can see that quite clearly that on the shorter term, the 1-hour ribbons, we've fallen through the ribbons here. And as soon as we did that, as you can see, there's a larger fall on the cards here. So the short-term momentum is really on the downside towards the 54,000 mark before we start recovering to get above the ribbons. But the main ribbons I look at is the 4-hourly chart, and you can see with the 4-hourly chart as well. We've just closed below the 4-hourly ribbons, and we're trying desperately to get back above the first ribbon here, but there's a very strong resistance here. So this is very much a bearish momentum taking place currently in the short term. If we have a look at the daily chart, the main thing to look for is the pivots line here, as well as the Bitcoin investor tool. I've been showing you this now for many weeks. Bitcoin basically has to make a decision very, very shortly. As I've said all along, there's a very high degree of probability that we're going to get up to this line anywhere around here. And we're going to get rejected from here. This is my understanding, that with a high degree of probability, we're going to get rejected here. However, that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. It can easily barge through, but there are consequences if the price goes through this red line here. Because as we know, that when the price of Bitcoin goes through the red line, then historically, as we know, that is generally the start of the end of the bull market within a few weeks there. And it is my view, and it could be completely wrong, that we are not coming to the end of the bull market currently. So my expectation is that we're going to come up to the red line and get rejected. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that at the beginning of the month I make these predictions based on these pivot lines. And I said at the beginning of this month that we would more than likely arrive at the R1 line, but we won't meet the R2 line because of this red Bitcoin investor tool line. And more than likely we'll get rejected anywhere at the end of this month. So this is still holding true. So the next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely critical, but it's very interesting that the R1 line is where the price is finding a lot of resistance and support. So let's see what happens when the price breaks up, which I'm expecting, and moves towards this line here, because there's a confluence of the pivots here, the red line and the price all converging in this box here. On the weekly chart, we're forming a very interesting candle here. It's like a hammer candle. It's basically where a security, i.e. Bitcoin in this case, open and close virtually equal for the given time period, and generally signals a reversal pattern for technical analysts. If we look at the weekly, a long wick at the bottom tells you that there is a rejection of lower prices. So buyers are coming in at these lower levels and pushing the price up. And you can see quite clearly here a long wick pushing prices up, another long wick here pushing prices up, another long wick at the bottom pushing prices up. Same here, same here, same here. So with the wicks at the bottom, what that is telling us that there is a lot of buying pressure which is preventing the bears from taking over. So there is a rejection of lower prices. So this bull market is very strongly intact and moving to the higher side. However, as we've seen with the Bitcoin investor tool, we can expect a correction down here. So where would the correction be if it came down? We haven't had a look at the 21 weekly exponential moving average for quite a while now. And this is the yellow line here. And as I've shown you many times over the course of the last 18 months, that whenever we come to a bull market, this yellow line, this 21 weekly exponential moving average, always has a very relevant role, as this is where the price of Bitcoin tends to retract back to in the corrections. Currently, we haven't visited this yellow line since around September time here. So the question is, are we due a correction back to the yellow line, the 21 weekly exponential moving average? Only time will tell, but we should be aware that this is entirely possible, that when we get to the $71,000 mark, which is where the R2 line is on the pivots, and which is where the Bitcoin investor tool is aiming for, if we get a correction around the $71,000 mark around here, it may well be that we come back to retest the 21 weekly exponential moving average. We need to be aware of that because it's entirely possible and probable. The 21 weekly exponential moving average is at the $37,500 mark. Currently, it's moving at the rate of $2,500 per week. So in 2 weeks' time, that would be around about the $42,000, $43,000 mark where this could correct to. So keep an eye on that, and please be aware that this is quite possible. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, I want to show you something quite interesting. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I've been drawing these pink channel lines for the last many months when we started this bull market down here. And I said all along that once we break out of this channel here, we will be on to our bull phase market, which will culminate in our target of the $300,000 mark at the end of the year. The interesting thing I want to show you here is that in the previous bull markets, if you look here, once we established the bull phase of the market, then this blue line, this blue support line of the bull phase of the cycle was never breached until the end of that bull market. If we look left of the previous cycle to that, again, once we started the bull phase, this blue support line was never broken until the end of that bull market. Similarly here, once we went into this bull phase here, although we've got some wicks down here, it wasn't broken until after the bull market. And similarly here. So what this information tells us is that with the current bull market, we can draw a similar support line here. So this tells us that the trajectory of this bull market is going in this direction. And if that is the case, then this target, if it is to be met, is more than likely going to be met within this period of time where this channel is leading to, around about before September this year, unless it falls out of this channel, which in the previous 3 cycles it hasn't done. So it's very interesting that we know that this support line now, this bottom support line, is very, very strong in terms of holding the price of Bitcoin in this direction. Currently, the support line for this, if you look at, this is obviously the weekly chart, the current support price currently is over here. And in the next week, which is the new week tomorrow, the support will move up to around 51,000. So what this tells me is that with the new candle starting tomorrow, and if you look at the bottom of the channel there, that's around the 51, 52 mark, it tells me that we are not going to be visiting the price below 50,000 in this phase of the bull market. Obviously, once the market tops off, which is what we're expecting anywhere around here, then the bottom of that bear market may well be down to 42,000, 40,000, which we've predicted for next year. However, this support line is going to prop up the price of Bitcoin for the next few months. So I can't see how the Bitcoin price will fall below the $52,000 mark going forward. Okay, so onto the Dow Jones chart, which stretches back all the way back to this 1896. So what I've done is I've drawn this resistance and support line since 1929 when we had this crash here. This chart was brought to my attention by Frederick in the comment section of the last video when he said that I just found an interesting video which shows the Dow Jones approaching an important 100-year resistance line, and maybe this is interesting for you. Well, it definitely is. And the reason why it's very interesting is that if you look at 1929, we had a crash from the top of this market here to the bottom of the market by around 89–90% at the time. So these basically set the template for this channel here. And we've hit this channel, and we've hit this bottom of the channel here once before. But since then, that was in 1982, but since then, as you can see, the trajectory has taken a different direction to the upside. And currently, if we have a look at the price action round here, look where we are. We're right at the top of that resistance line. Now, does that mean that we're about to fall and have a correction? No, it doesn't mean that, although that is entirely possible. But I think it's a very good idea to keep in mind where we are with the Dow Jones. It may well be, this is the monthly chart by the way, so it could be that in the next few months, the Dow Jones hovers around here and Bitcoin moves towards its target of 200, 300, 400,000, wherever it goes to. But you can see quite clearly from here that there is an inevitable crash coming somewhere in this period. Where it goes to, we will never know the depths of a correction. We can tell when a correction is coming, but we can never tell the depths of how far it will actually go down to. So I thought I'd share that with you, and thank you to Frederick for bringing this to our attention. It's extremely important to be aware of this, that we are coming towards the final few months of a correction on the way. And the reason why I don't think a correction is imminent is because if we look at the Bitcoin currently, the RSI on the monthly chart is at around about the 90-91 mark. And when we top off, you can see quite clearly that we're usually at the 95-96 level here in the last bull market. And previous to that, we were at the 98 level here and around the 97 mark here. So there's still a little bit way to go for the next few months for the RSI to catch up to the previous bull market tops. And if we have a look at the stochastic RSI on the monthly chart, you can see that whenever we're coming to the top of the market, we tend to hang around at the top for quite a while. Here, look, there. And we've just come to the top here. So it looks like we've got a few months to go before we top down as in the previous cycles. I also want to show you the TD sequentials. Now the TD sequential is generally quite accurate, doesn't work in all the cases, but this I thought was quite interesting is that if you look in the history of Bitcoin, we've only had one TD sequential 9 green here, after which we topped out at this bull market 2 months after this 9. The next time we got a 9 green on the TD sequential, we kept going up until we topped out here. And currently we hit the green 9 in December. So whenever we've hit the 9 on the TD sequential, that was the catalyst for us to have a blow off top within a few months afterwards. It didn't reset at the bottom like it would normally do with the red numbers here. So is this 9 TD sequential that we've just hit in December, is that telling us that we're now not going to be resetting these red numbers here before we top out here? So this looks again like another narrative that's telling us that we're on our way to our target anywhere around here. And if you found value in this information, then please do remember to like and subscribe if you're new. Quite a number of people have asked me about Marathon Digital Holdings and Riot Blockchain. These are Bitcoin miners, and people wanting to buy into Marathon and Riot. Well, the only way you can do it, because these stocks are on the NASDAQ in America, then they're not available on your Coinbase or Kraken or Binance or anywhere else. But you can actually buy these on the Etoro exchange. You can open up an Etoro account by going into any of my videos, and below the video you'll find that there is an Etoro partner link there. And if you click on that link, you can quite easily, within a few minutes, create an account, and that will give you access to buying Marathon and Riot. A quick look at Dash, which is one of the altcoins, and we've had a few requests for this, so I thought I'd just mention this very, very briefly. And that is, as you can see, the price for Dash topped out around December 2017 in the last bull market and followed the same trajectory down as Bitcoin. But since then, it's created a wonderful structure from a technical point of view, whereby we've gone and consolidated in this range here for this period of time here from 2018, end of 2018, all the way to last month in February, where we had this breakout here. So what this tells me is that if you look at the pattern, which is basically a cup and handle pattern, as I've shown you many, many times, once we break the neckline here, and this is a monthly candle breakout, which is extremely powerful, and this chart is just basically screaming that we're about to take off in this direction. Only time will tell, but from a technical point of view, it looks an amazing chart, which is extremely bullish. It's created a W pattern here with a few double bottoms actually, but also if you look closely, you can see there's a inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. So we've got a cup and handle, a double bottom, and as well as an inverse head and shoulders, and we've just broken out last month in February above the neckline here. I'm not sure how more bullish this chart could look, but this is what a lot of the altcoins are doing now. As I've shown you with Neo, with Zcash, with Polkadot, they've all done this and they're all in this direction. So the next few months, as long as Bitcoin is going in the right direction, then these coins will also be following suit, and some of them will outperform Bitcoin by quite a margin. And finally, onto our wisdom bite for today. One of the greatest principles I came across in my life was the following quotation from Jim Rohn, which said, "If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune." Now, everybody wants to make a fortune. That's the easy bit here. But the hard bit is, if you work hard on yourself. Now, this is the hard bit. So today I'm going to show you a principle where you can work hard on yourself to sort out your financial future. So one of the ways you can work on yourself is the principle that if you applied this, then you will never get into any debts, and it will be the start of the road to your fortune. But the sad truth of all this is that only 1% of the people will apply this. And guess what? That is the same people who are financially secure today. So please listen very, very carefully to this principle. So what is this principle? You may have heard about it, but did you start practicing it after you heard it? That is the real question. The principle I'm talking about is a principle of the richest man in Babylon. Like I said, you may have heard about this, but I'm very sure very few people will have put this into practice, because in my journey of life, I have not come across anybody who has put this into practice. So what does the principle of the richest man in Babylon say? The first one is to pay yourself first. So what that means is that if you are paid 10 coins, pay yourself at least 1 coin here and use the other 9 for your provisions and costs. So basically it's telling you to save that 1 coin by paying yourself first. And with the rest of the 9, you can use them for your normal, every day, every week provisions and costs. Now you could do 2 coins or 3 coins. So it all depends, but it's saying to do at least 10%. This way, you would never be in a position where you need to borrow money. The reason why this is quite easy to do, although you may think it's quite difficult, is that if we understand humans, the one thing we know is that we are creatures of habit. And if we took out 1 coin, we would get used to living on the other 9, and we wouldn't miss this extra coin here. This way, you would never get into financial trouble because you would live within your means and never need to ever borrow money. It's a very simple principle, but only if you put it into practice. The second principle of the richest man in Babylon is control your expenses. What people do is they start spending money on their luxuries, and then they ultimately confuse the luxuries as necessities. And what that means is that if we let our expenses run out of control and we start to look at them as necessities, then they will come to equal the income that we have, which means that we will not have the opportunity to save that extra coin. The third principle of the richest man in Babylon is make your savings multiply. What that's saying is that the coin that you save by paying yourself first, either one coin or two coins, whether you do 10% or 20%, or in my case, I used to do 50%. If you can then multiply those savings by investing and compounding in the right way, like we are all here invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other altcoins. This is what we're doing. We're trying to multiply our savings. But you must follow this principle. But you must follow all these principles to make your fortune. These earnings will build your fortune by making your savings work for you. The fourth principle of the richest man in Babylon is protect your investment that you make in number 3 here. What it's saying with this principle is that when you make the investments, protect the principle that you've put in there by not taking unnecessary risk. And it's asking a question, is it wise to risk the principle that you've saved by paying yourself first? Is it wise to risk that with unnecessary risk like get-rich-quick schemes or multiple-level marketing, which a lot of people get into, pyramid schemes? So protect your investments by making sure you invest wisely. Make your house a profitable investment. So what the principle says is not to rent your house, but to buy the dwelling, your principal house where you live. Make it a profitable investment by buying it and not renting it. The sixth principle is to create a pension for income in your retirement. And this is where Bitcoin comes in, because you can use the money we make from Bitcoin to create the goose. Do you remember the goose that lays the golden eggs? So your principal amount should be invested in something like commercial property or safe investments. And whatever the rental income or passive income you get from that, you use the money from that to actually fund your interests and desires and wants. And that principal amount that you invested there can become your pension income in your retirement. The final principle of the richest man in Babylon is learning is earning. And all it says is that if you keep developing your skills to increase your investing wisdom, then this will increase your earning power. So please don't stop learning. My experience of people is that once they've been to university, they think that their learning is ended there. Whereas actually in real life, that is where it should really be beginning. And if you keep learning, it will help you to keep earning. Well, that's it. Okay, so I hope you found value in that. Like I said, only 1% of the world's population follows these principles, and they are the richest people in the world. And I hope that you will be one of those 1%. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you once again for watching. Hope you found value in the video. And if you did, please remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. If you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments below. And until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.